Hello and welcome to Hangtoft 1944. Now today we're going to talk about the 51st Highland Division. Now the 51st Highland Division were formed in August of 1908 and they disbanded in 1968. So a few years of action in their time. Their nickname during the First World War was the Ladies from Hell and Harper's Studs. The Ladies from Hell given to them by the Germans because they were terrified of them. But today we're going to talk about their action in the Second World War. Now, when the Second World War broke out in 1939, France, allies of Poland, and obviously France were also allies of Britain. So when France and Britain declared war on Germany, the B.E.F were formed as an amalgamation of most of the regiments in the British Army, and they were sent to France. The 51st Highland Division made their way from Scotland to Aldershot, and for some time they were there training. Then they left for France. Originally the B.E.F were to be on the line, the border of France and Belgium. So when the Germans attacked, they'd close like a gate, but the higher echelons of the British Army sent the 51st Highland Division to the Maginot line under French command of General de Gaulle, and it was there where they spent most of the time during the Phoney War, which times the French and German on each side of the line were trading bottles of wine and having card games, having a good time. Well, peace was there at the moment. But then Hitler ordered a case yellow and his attack on Western Europe, and then they attacked France. When they attacked the Maginot line, it was complete. It was blitzkrieg. But before that, the Germans had invaded through the Ardennes, which the British and the French thought was impossible because of the amount of trees there, but the Germans managed it. So they were sent harrying across country, the French countryside, with the Germans behind their tail. General Rommel was in charge of the Germans who were chasing them, and the panzer tanks and the infantry, SS infantry, Panzerlehr. They got to Normandy, to a wee place called St Valery-en-Caen. Now, when Churchill was making his speech about the Dunkirk evacuation, saying we will fight them on the beaches, they had already ordered the 51st to fight to the last man. Of course, quite a few 51st Highlanders were killed during this time, and the ensuing race to St Valery. Now there was street to street fighting, and it emerged that a white flag had been hoisted above one of the buildings. Major Fortune, who was in charge of the 51st Highlanders, was irate. He wanted to know why there was a white flag up, because he hadn't surrendered, but it turned out that the French had. So he said, I will fight on until I have no other option but to surrender, and this turned out to be the case. And what was left of the 51st Highlanders of 1940 surrendered, and General Rommel took the surrender from Major Fortune, who was given 10 minutes leeway, at which time he went to the docks and broke his heart. Actually quite emotional thinking about it myself. Because he was so highly rated by the Germans, Major Fortune was taken to Stalag, the German prisoner camp. Before they were surrendered, however, there was a attempted rescue of the 51st, but it got bogged down and just out of range of the German guns offshore, because a fog had rolled in, and by the time it cleared, the surrender was obviously been given, and they were all taken into captivity by the Germans. Some remained there until the end of the war in 1945. And after that, the division was reformed in Britain, and they actually went on to fight in El Alamein under Monty, and they fought with a fighting spirit that the 51st had always encapsulated. Take no prisoners, so to speak. They were not one for surrendering, and eventually won out in Africa against the Africa Corps and that man again, General Rommel. After that, they returned back to Britain and began their training for the reconquest and retake of Western Europe. H-hour D-Day. So on the 6th of June 1944, D-Day, the invasion began. And as you know from before, it began with the airborne forces landing at night and the land forces landing by sea in the early hours, about 5 o'clock onwards. 51st landed on D-Day +1 on Sword Beach and made their way inland, and took part in Operation Totalize. They were then ordered by Monty to go to the Canadian First Army, attached to the Canadian First Army, where again they fought what the Highlanders have always done: bravery. They made their way to Lisseroux, with Monty ordering the General of the Canadian Army that once they reached St. Valery, the 51st Highlanders, 51st Division, were to take back St. Valery-en-Caux, which they did. They had come full circle. In 1940 they surrendered. In 1944 they were victorious. And the French of St. Valery-en-Caux never forgot. To which point they actually named the avenue leading up to the cemetery Avenue de Ecosse, the Avenue of Scotland. Charles de Gaulle was so impressed with the bravery of the fighting 51st that it inspired him to carry on the war. In 1940 he carried on fighting and therefore led the French resistance as well, and the French commandos to carry on the fight along with the Allies. so his admiration was utmost for the fighting 51st. The Canadians also loved and admired the fighting spirit of the Scots of the 51st Highlanders, who were nicknamed in the Second World War the Highway Decorators. When Operation Market Garden came along, General Horrocks of the 30 Corps had immense respect for the 51st and ordered that they be attached to his unit. And at the end of the war, he was so full of pride for the 51st that he took the victory salute in 1945. For more information, contact the 51st Highland Division Museum, which is in Perth, and there's some books that I've added here that may help you for further information. I'd like to thank the 51st Highland Division Museum for their information and some of their pictures here. And to the veterans past, present and future, we owe our life to thee, lest we forget.